Right. All right. So we are live. So, all right. So I'm so excited. It's their first webinar with Atlantic Bridge. Are you excited, Otavio?
Yeah, a lot. Thank you for the opportunity, Colleen. It's a pleasure to be here speaking with you.
Yeah, this is one I've been waiting for. I know there has been so many things going on in the last 6 months, 9 months. I feel like this is so timely and important that we keep giving people updates, though it is definitely always chasing and ever understanding whatever is coming around the corner next. I'm really happy that you're here. Thank you so much. Hi, Daniel. Welcome from New York City.
Hello, Daniel.
Yeah, we are definitely going to give people a couple of minutes to get signed in before we get started. So it's great when you say hello, when you sign in and let us know where you're at. That's fantastic. So, and you're up in you're in Braga, right? So you're up north.
Yeah, I live in Braga. That is where is my residency, but I work in Porto, and I usually I am all around the north of the country. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. Do you get up to the Douro much? Do you get up to the river and the wine country?
Really nice. I love this region. A lot of great landscapes, good wine. It's really nice being there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very rainy here too, Daniel. The whole country is getting soaked. We're encouraged by the idea that I don't think drought is going to be on our minds this year. So it is trying to find the positive with all this rain.
Yeah, it will pass and we'll start the best time of the year. Summer is coming and here it's really nice to enjoy a lot of sun.
Yes, absolutely. I love going up around the Douro and exploring. You know, you're in Braga. One of my favorite areas is Guimarães. I absolutely love Guimarães. So
Really nice historic city, right? Yeah.
yes. Oh my goodness. The architecture and just the whole vibe with all the little antique stores and bookstores and great restaurants and shoes, right? Guimarães is shoes.
Yeah, they are famous for that. Yeah, that's right.
Definitely. Did you grow up in Braga? Is that your home area in Portugal or you're from Brazil?
I'm from Brazil originally. I'm also an expat, so I know how it works, how it changes. We have different procedures, a lot of change. So I'm living here for more than 5 years. And since the beginning, I'm living in Braga, and I love
Wow.
it.
Yeah, Braga's great. Hi, Karen. Welcome from California. Boy, you're getting on from the West Coast. Welcome. So we'll just take a couple of more minutes just to make sure everybody has a chance to get on. Oh, we've got someone here from Virginia. That's awesome. Hello, Lorraine. So you are in Braga, well, in Porto right now, living in Braga. Do you get down in the southern part of Portugal much? Have you had a chance to explore or?
Especially in the summer. I love the Algarve. We have great beaches over there, landscapes amazing. And me and my wife, we go there quite often. Yeah.
That's fantastic. How about, so I'm in Alcobaça. I'm on the Silver Coast, right in the center, very close to Nazaré, just inland. Have you been in this area? Have you ever had a chance to stop in here?
Yeah, nearby, not really in Alcobaça, but I know this region. I know that a lot of Americans love to go there and live in this region. There are some nice places to visit as well. I've been to those islands, Peniche, where we have
the Berlingas. Yeah,
really nice there. Yeah.
Yeah. We went out and did the Berlingas on a Zodiac boat. My husband and I did, and we didn't know we were going to do a Zodiac boat. That was wild. Taking the little tiny boat with like 12 people across the Atlantic. That I wanted to come back on the ferry. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It was a lot of bouncing around. So let's see. So it's 6:00. So on here in Portugal. So I think it would be great to we'll just give it another minute or so folks can get logged in. We are streaming live on Facebook as well. So and Instagram. So we're making sure that everybody is getting a chance to get logged in. And we're also streaming live on YouTube. So we have different ways for folks to be able to log in and view this. So welcome everyone. I hope you're getting settled in. We've got some good information for today. So you said you and your wife are up there. Do you guys have a favorite getaway for Easter? Are you doing anything special for this holiday weekend?
Not really. We'll just like enjoy being at home. Here in Braga, well, the weather is not really good for this weekend, so we might just stay here. But it's good also to be at home, and soon we'll be exploring more Portugal. It's
Yeah.
always nice to we have nice trips. We love to come here to this Douro region, as you mentioned, here by the river, and yeah, we enjoy a lot the north of the country.
Definitely, definitely. Well, it is a national holiday actually in Portugal tomorrow. So, for everyone that if you're trying to contact anyone in Portugal, you'll need to wait till Monday because starting now, because it's basically after hours here until Monday, everyone will be off for the Easter long weekend. So, that's a definite important note to understand, especially when you're not used to everything shutting down in the States. Businesses don't shut down the same way that they do here in Portugal on Friday. So it took me a couple of years to get that into my head that it was a full day. So definitely adjusting, but I'm looking forward to the holiday this weekend, doing some cooking and spending time with friends. So it'll be
Yeah,
nice. So,
yeah,
all
good to
right.
hear.
I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and kick this off formally. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Colleen, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Portugal the Place. We offer relocation services to help you have a smooth transition to Portugal. We are so excited to share this platform tonight with Atlantic Bridge. And Atlantic Bridge is an immigration firm that has been helping our clients relocate, getting all the immigration questions answered that they need around the visas and the different moving parts when you're considering relocating to Portugal. And they also handle other countries as well. But for us, it's a very special opportunity. This is something I feel like we've been waiting for a while because Atlantic Bridge is the organization that helped us relocate from the United States. So I wanted to share a little bit about how we all connected because Atlantic Bridge is a very valued partner of ours. And it came from the fact that we had the real life experience of being kind of in the weeds and not knowing how to move to Portugal during COVID. So, like many people, we were looking to relocate and we got stuck in limbo with the consulates closed and with all those kind of things where rules were changing and all things were happening. And we had a complicated situation. We had my husband and myself. I had my 81-year-old father at the time moving with us and our daughter, who was 19 at the time. And then we were trying to relocate and we'd sold our house, kind of got caught without a place to live when the consulates were closed. And so here we were. And the team at Atlantic Bridge never stopped supporting us. They stuck with us through the entire moving situation, not knowing what the rules were going to be. We didn't know where we were going to find a place. We had to do everything online. We were virtual completely. We didn't see anything before we moved. And Marcella and the team, they were fabulous. They treated us like we were part of their family. And when we started Portugal the Place and when we started assisting people with the relocation parts in person, location scouting, getting people's apartments and homes and setting up utilities and doing all that part, there was absolutely no one else that we wanted to work with other than Atlantic Bridge. So today, to have the state of Portugal with you all, Otavio, having you here with us today. He is an immigration attorney and is going to share where we're at today, what's going on in Portugal, and hopefully give you some clarity because I know there's been a lot of information swirling around. So, Otavio, I would love to turn it over to you, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Colleen, for sharing this experience that you had with us. It was a pleasure assisting you, and it's a good cooperation, good partnership that we have. So it's really nice to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
So we're going to get started. We have a short presentation, then we're going to open it up for questions. Feel free to send those questions over in the chat if you'd like, if you've got something so that you don't forget. But we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation.
Right. So here we have first some basic general information about moving to Portugal, choosing Portugal. And I believe that everything starts when we think about why Portugal, why it's so like we have a lot of Americans coming, applying for residence visas to live here. The community is growing a lot, but not only Americans, we have immigrants from everywhere. So we need to think why Portugal, and we have some main information, main elements here that we can present to get this answered. So it's all based on quality of life. We have here a good healthcare system, security. Recently, Portugal was indicated as the seventh safest country in the world, so it's always in top 10. Also, the weather, it's really nice here.
Usually, except for
Yeah,
today.
not for this week is not a good example, but the official data that we have, they say that we have more than 300 sunny days a year, which is really great, especially in the south. From center to south, it's more like this. In the north, we have a little bit of more rainy days. So, but the weather is great, and we enjoy a lot here in the summer. Especially, we don't have those really cold weather, not a lot of snow, just in some cities in the countryside. So the weather is great. The culture is rich as well. We have a lot of history, museums, a lot of things to learn. Also, the landscapes, we have amazing beaches and mountains, rivers. It's really nice to go and explore. And the price quality, so it's still it's a country affordable for immigrants because, of course, prices are rising, but it's still a good place to invest and to have a comfortable life.
And
So
don't you feel, Otavio, one of the things that you don't have on here is the people. The Portuguese people are some of the warmest and most welcoming people that I've met across the world. And I think it has to go into the quality of life because I've never seen people that enjoy celebrating life more than the Portuguese. There's like a festival every weekend on something. I mean, we celebrate sardines, bafanas, saints. I mean, if there's a reason to have a party, the Portuguese seem to do that. So we can't
yeah.
forget the people, right?
Yeah, that's really nice. And also cuisine, right? We have great
Yes.
food, great wines. So yeah,
Great
all of
things.
this is a good package. So why Portugal? It's just because we have all of these good qualities here. And also one important indication that we have here, it's about being able to become a Portuguese citizen after residing here for 5 years. We can request and apply for the Portuguese citizenship with this legal residency for 5 years. So this is also something that attract people to come because you can have your Portuguese passport, you can have dual nationality, like keep your American one or from where you are, and then become a Portuguese citizen, which is a good opportunity for you to explore more countries and to not need a visa for that, and especially here in the European Union. So it's really nice to be an European Union citizen and can move. We have this mobility.
I think one question a lot of people ask, it's the burning question about becoming a Portuguese citizen, the language requirement.
Oh,
So you do have to be able to pass a significant language test to become a Portuguese citizen, but you also have an option for permanent residency if you're not quite ready for that, correct?
yeah, that's correct. After 5 years, you can apply for this citizenship, but for that, you need to meet some requirements, and one of those it is for you need to like get an A2 level of Portuguese through a test. This is not really fluent, it's quite not simple, but it's something that we can learn in 5 years, definitely.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
but if you're not interested in getting the citizenship, you can still stay here as a resident, and you can renew the residence card. You can get the permanent residency, and that will be valid for 10 years. Even though we call permanent, there's a
yes,
validity. You need to change the card later.
yes.
So there's some specifications, but yeah, that's how it works. You can still be here even if you just stay as a foreigner with a residence
Exactly.
permit card.
So
Yeah,
the language doesn't have to be a barrier necessarily.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you all help a lot with the planning of the visas and everything. So why don't we kind of jump in a little bit here? I know that there's a lot of details and you help with all of these, but we have a couple of different visas now, right? There's a couple of different ways people can look at residency.
Yeah, to be honest, we have a lot of types of residence visas, also temporary stay visas. Here at Atlantic Bridge, we most of our clients are applying for those two that we have here in this slide. It will be the D7 visa and the digital nomad visa, but of course, we are able to assist to prepare to any kind of request applications. But first, it's important just to understand that we have some general requirements and some specific requirements.
Mhm.
For D7 visa, for example, it's just proving that you have passive income that meets the minimum amount per month, that is 820 euros, the equivalent of that in your local currency. And it needs to be passive income. For the
Yes.
digital nomad visa, it's active income. So you are working remotely. You can work from Portugal for a company that is out of Portugal. And the minimum amount to prove per month, it's higher than that. It must be 4 times the minimum wage of Portugal. So that will represent 3,280 euros currently. So we have those differences, but for both, you need to secure accommodation here for at least 12 months. This is part of the preparation for the visa application.
So you're not seeing any changes in the visa with the new political landscape and some of the conversations that have been happening with the D7 and the D8 visa. Do you feel that these are staying pretty consistent? You're not hearing about any changes or limits or anything at this point?
Yeah, this is correct. We had some changes last year, basically, but not related to the specific procedure of applying for one of those visas, but some of the advantages that we have after getting these visas. For example, the NHR regime, it's for what we call non-habitual resident here in Portugal. So you would have this facilities. It's like something that you have reduced taxes here in the country for 10 years. And they decided to terminate this program because of a political situation, and then because prices were rising here a lot, so it started to be difficult for locals, So they resolved to terminate the program. But then about the process itself and the maintenance of those types of visa, we don't see any indication that those will be terminated as visa types. So we still believe that it will be okay, even with the new government, because we had recent elections and the government is changing after 8 years. And for example, the digital nomad visa is recent. It was released like in, I believe, 2021 or 2022. And then it's very recent. We don't believe that this will change like soon. And
Okay.
we have a lot of people coming and investing here and making this even a better country through that regime and this visas. Yeah.
And this timeline, I know that people will see that they can apply at the VFS, different offices and the consulates in the States, but this timeline has been really concerning. A lot of the questions we're getting from folks is what's going on? What happened to Seth? Who is Amy, how do you say it? What is this that's going on? And I have noticed in the last month or so, it seems like there's been a little bit of an opening, like all of a sudden, residency permits are getting issued faster. Seems like maybe they've jumped up over a bit of a barrier. How are you feeling about that? Is the new offices seeming like they're starting to get their traction?
Yeah, that's right. But we are still facing this transition from SEF to IMA. SEF is the former Department of Borders here, and they decided to terminate this agency, extinct this agency, and now we have IMA. Just because they were not working in a good way, a lot of delays, so they wanted to try to improve this service. But in order to do that, we still need to wait for them to reorganize things and hire new people to help working there. Because the thing is, it's basically the same process. The legislation, it's the same for this type of requests, for residence permits, for visas as well.
Right,
So
right.
that didn't change. What really changed is just the agency and the structure of the agency under the government administration. So
And
we
they
are
had
still
a
facing this.
backlog, correct? They were clearing a pretty heavy backlog. So that's what I was understanding, that a lot of the residency permits we're seeing now were kind of clogged up, and they're starting to release some of the past ones, but there's still some delays for people that are current. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, this is correct. Since October last year, we had some issues, but now we can see that they are moving forward. And for example, by our experience with some clients who recently requested their residence permits, it's taking some weeks only to receive the cards at home. For people who applied last year in the second semester of last year, they had to wait like more than 90 days because we have a deadline, legal deadline here, that they need to issue the cards after you request. And of course, if they see that everything is correct, that you meet all the requirements, they need to issue that for you within 3 months, up to 90 days. And
Yes.
we're facing delays like really maybe up to 6 months of waiting period. But now
Yeah.
with recent clients, they are waiting just a couple of weeks, like a month, 2 months, no more
And
than
this
that.
is what you're talking about, correct? The difference between the residence visa and the residence permit. People get a little confused by that. You don't, it's a two-step process. You get the first piece and then the next, correct? And that's the part that trips people up sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. We always explain to our clients when we start the process here that we have two stages. We call like the consular stage. It's when you are still in your country of origin and you need to apply for a residence visa, a Portuguese residence visa. So you present your application at the consulate of Portugal from where you live, or through a famous partner that we have called VFS. It's this
Mhm.
third-party company that they are partners of the Portuguese consulate, and they are in charge of receiving everything and forwarding to the Portuguese consulate internally. So when you present your request to VFS or to the consulate directly, uh, during this phase, they have an update, a deadline of up to 60 days, 2 months to provide a decision. Sometimes we can face some delays as well. Depends on the jurisdiction where you apply. Sometimes we have a lot of applicants at the same time, and it can take longer, but it's not common to be more than 3 months of waiting period. And sometimes it's even less than 60 days. So we
Yeah.
usually provide this expectations, like to be expecting 60 to 90 days to get the approval after you apply for your visa. And then once it is approved, they will issue the visa in your passport. It will be like a seal in one of the pages of your passport with a residence visa. And that one, it's still a temporary stay. It's a temporary visa. It's valid for 4 months. And during this period, it's when you need to come to Portugal. You must arrive in Portugal during this period. And by procedure, when they issue your visa, it will come with an appointment that is automatically scheduled for you to be here in Portugal in person to request the residence permit card. Because of the lack of availability, sometimes we don't have this indication in the visa seal, so we need to call them. And it's really hard to call IMA to get new appointments, but we are able to do that. We are on a daily basis calling them to check about the current availability. And if needed, we can do that and book an appointment directly with them through the phone. But by procedure, it comes with your visa. And during this period, you come, you request your card, and that's the second stage of the process. When you move to Portugal with this visa, so you have the right, like, of applying for a residence card. And this second stage is easier. You just need to present some updated documents to the
Right.
agency when you go there and collect fingerprints, this type of things that you need to provide biometrics. And then they will have up to 90 days to send to your address here in Portugal the cards. So it can take still up to 3 months until you get the cards. That will be valid then for 2 years. So the card will be for 2 years, and you have multiple entries. You can go, you can come back. But we still have one very important rule to be careful, because for you to keep the right of staying with your residence permit, you cannot be out of Portugal for more than 6 consecutive months or 8 months in total within the period of validity of your card, which is 2 years.
Right. And that's what you're talking about. Some of these hot topics here is that goodbye to SEF and all this that you were discussing. The changes really were significantly about the bureaucracy inside and what SEF itself did. The changes themselves don't seem to be affecting the people applying as much. As far as I understand, that SEF had the border patrol as well. And so now this new organization focuses strictly on like the visa processes and applicants and things, and they changed that. So when we're talking about this new change, there's no expectation that they're going to make any additional changes to this process, that the new office seems to be holding steady, and this is the plan for the near future. How about the golden visa? I know this is a big topic. I want to make sure we have time to open up to questions, but the golden visas no longer has a real estate component, but that doesn't mean it's not an option, correct? There's a couple of other ways you can come in through the golden visa.
Yeah, that's correct. It was really something that it was on the news last year, like the termination of the Golden Visa program. But actually, we still have some other types of investments that are eligible for getting this Golden Visa, which is a process that we do. Everything is here in Portugal. You don't have that consular stage that I was referring before. So you will need to make an investment. And the other types of investments that we have will be like creating a company. If you invest 500,000 euros to open a company here, you can keep 10 jobs during 5 years consistently with those 10 jobs that you can create. And that's also eligible for a golden visa, but also some donations, we have for scientific research and also for the production of cultural activities. And also,
is that all 500,000? Are they all entry at 500,000, or do they have different entry level points?
No, I have some numbers here. So 500,000 will be for you to open a company in Portugal, invest by opening a company in Portugal with this amount, and also for a deposit in investment funds. You can invest here with this minimum amount and keep this investment for 5 years. This is still eligible.
Okay.
But also we have let me check, 250,000 euros to invest here to support an artistic production. That will be a little bit less than
That's
the
a
other.
donation, correct? That's a strict donation. Like that's money that you won't receive back, that you donate to an arts or cultural pre-approved program, correct? There's a list of who you can donate to. It's interesting because that one I don't think gets as much attention, and you can come in through the Golden Visa program with that donation at a relatively lower threshold, and then still have the option to purchase a home anywhere. There's no real estate restriction then at that point. You can live anywhere in Portugal. If you want to buy a house, you don't have the past restrictions, which said you had to buy in a certain region or in a in a rural or non-urban designated area. So I think that the Golden Visa could still be a great option for folks that aren't quite ready to move full time and have their residency, but start the process of getting that option to be here in Portugal without that, what you just said with the other visas, where you have to be in country for that 8 months of the 2 years.
Yeah. In this case, it's only 14 days within the period of validity of the card. So within 2 years, you need to spend 14 days in Portugal, and you're free to move and be out of Portugal if that's the case. So we still have these opportunities. I know that the Americans usually you have this culture of donating, and but before it was something around more than 90% of the investments for golden visa was for real estate purposes.
Right, right.
So that's why suddenly everybody started to panic. Well, we don't have that anymore, but well, we still have some interesting opportunities. So it's good to let everyone knows about that.
I know. So before we open it up for questions, and I know we have questions here, state of the current government. So the election happened. There was definitely some protest votes. For those of us that are from the U.S., we're used to a two-party system, so sometimes the whole process feels a little overwhelming. In a quick nutshell, can you tell us where we are today at the state after the elections? What's happening today, and how do you think that's going to affect especially immigrants, the folks that are watching this? You know, do you anticipate anything positive or negative coming out of what happened?
Yeah, immigration was like a big point of discussion during these elections. You know, it's something just because we have nowadays a lot of immigrants in Portugal and we have different types of immigrants. It's really easier if you come here by planning everything properly. And what we do here with our clients, we need to make sure that they have conditions to come. But we have a lot of people who don't really plan, and it's usually what we call the overstayers, those who come as a tourist and decide to stay here and like make their lives in Portugal without having a proper visa for the purpose of their stay. So we have these two main groups, you know, and it's of course more complicated for this second group. And this was a point of discussion during the elections, and some parties here, they were trying to use immigrants as a reason for like the problems of Portugal. A lot of people here that don't have conditions, but even those who come with money and need to invest, we had this real estate prices that are rising. So this also caused some effects. So this is something that was being discussed. The government that we have now, it's a big change. We had the previous government here for 8 consecutive years, and now we have this change. But basically, what we had before, it was a center-left government, and now we'll have a center-right government. The news that we have, the really difference from the previous elections, it's the new party that we have, because we had here 2 main parties in Portugal as well, some minor parties, and now we have a third big party, and this one is like far right. And they are the main ones who try to use immigrants as the reason for all the problems of Portugal. But
Yeah.
the good news is they won't be, at least as far as we know, they are not being part of this future government that is being created right now. Today, the new prime minister will have a meeting with the president, and they are going to like indicate who will be working, who will be in the government. And
Okay.
we have no indication that this far right party will be part of the government, so we don't really need to be worried with like major changes in the immigration law. And this new party that is now taking place, and with the new prime minister, they are usually their behavior, it is welcoming for foreigners, for investments from other countries. So we might face a stable scenario for immigrants, I believe.
Great. Great. I think we're going to start getting some questions here. So again, go ahead and share out your questions. It looks like Wendy has a great question. Hey, Wendy, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. So how about the Article 15 appointments? Are you hearing anything on this? Do you have any updates on how that's going?
Yeah, it's very important for us to try to get in touch with IMA, former SEF, now IMA, to know about the availability. I know that it's not easy, definitely, because we need to call them, and their call center is very complicated. In order to start speaking with someone, we need to try a lot of times. But when we can speak with some of them, they can inform us what types of appointments they have available to schedule. And the Article 15, it's for family members of the European Union, or or family members of Portuguese citizens, and request a residence permit as a family member of an European Union citizen. So in this case, by our experience last year, this one opened a lot of times. So it's not really hard to get this type of appointment. But since October, we had some issues. It's delaying a little bit more, but we had some good experience. I believe it was less than a month ago. They provided new slots for the Article 15, and we do believe that they are doing that pretty soon again. We know that currently there is no slot for that because we are calling them like on a daily basis to know, and we don't have this opportunity right now, but it's very important to try to call them, like, if you can, every day to check
every day.
them.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Wendy. So call every day. All right. So Peter is a digital nomad and has been traveling around Europe and is down in the Algarve and is in love with the country. Is there any way to start the residency from Portugal?
Unfortunately not. We don't have this possibility of becoming a legal resident here as a digital nomad directly in Portugal. We have some ways of requesting the card directly here, but for digital nomads, that's not the case. That will be for the ones who are already working for a Portuguese company. So then they can go and request, and especially for what we call here like highly qualified professionals, especially from the area of IT, So, but for digital nomads, the process needs to be started from the country of origin at the consulate of Portugal and wait until you get the visa, so then you can come. You can come before, you can do your research, see where you'd like to live, spend here some time as a tourist, but you will need to go back just to apply and wait to get your visa and then come back. We have a lot of clients who do that. So
is there an option for I know we have the D8 visa, which is the long-term digital nomad, but there's also a short-term option, correct? That is, but you still have to apply for that from the United States as well, correct? Or from your country of origin?
Yeah, this is right. The temporary stay visa will be valid for up to 1 year, and this one will be in your passport. You are not entitled to request like the residence permit card with a temporary stay visa for digital nomads. So if you intend to be in Portugal for more than a year, you will need to apply for the residence visa.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. All right, so this is a great question. Hey, Jennifer, this is a great question. Any anticipation of a new NHR? Any indications yet from the government? Have you heard any chatter? Because I haven't heard anything much beyond the specialty jobs. What is your take on this?
Yeah, that's right. The only rumor that we have, and it's likely that this will happen, we'll have a new special regime for some specific professions. They didn't explain yet. They didn't provide an official document or law stating which will be the professions that will be eligible for this new tax regime. But it will involve like entrepreneurs and people that will work with scientific research and invest here for this type of research, so that will be some specific professions that will be eligible for this new tax regime. It's not, we didn't hear anything about that being also eligible for other types of visa holders like D7 visa or others student or anything. It's so just for
yeah, so far we haven't heard anything about passive income. It hasn't been discussed yet, but it's early days in the new government too. I think they have some other things on their mind first and foremost, and with a center-right government, the one thing that I'm being told is that we do have a more receptive group to foreign investments. So down the line, once they get settled in, this would be more of a group that might consider something as opposed to if it had swung much farther left.
Yeah, this is right. And also, we had a recent rumor about a new type of investment for the golden visa as well. So this is something that we can start having some good changes, some other opportunities. This other one is also related to cultural investments about museums here in Portugal. So we are trying to release new rules, so we'll have some good opportunity for investors here in the country.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I think we have some options coming.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Wendy is, let's see, is there more interested about a change in attitudes toward immigrants? Do you think, so from my position, I know that I have had it explained to me multiple times because I've been really trying to keep a pulse on this, that the anti-immigration was much more focused on people that were coming through illegally or the overstayers without contributing into the tax system and all of that. But how do you feel? Are you seeing more pushback for both legal and overstayers, or is it still kind of mainly focusing on those coming in through alternative ways?
Yeah, I believe that it could be even related to some specific countries or religions. It's increasing here prejudice against Muslims, for example, which is really bad. We don't want that. But this is happening with some specific groups or even people from Asia, mainly from Pakistan or India, that we have nowadays a lot of people from there in the Lisbon region, and they also from Africa, because Portugal had colonies around the world, Brazil, the biggest one, but also a lot of in Africa, a lot of countries from Africa. And these people, when they come here to Portugal, as I did from Brazil, we can face some special prejudice because of those ex-colonies from Portugal. They can have this instinct of this anti-immigration from those specific countries, and also now religions against Muslims, as I mentioned. So those are their focus right now, unfortunately. This is really hard for them to settle here and to have their lives with no problems, because we know that this is a safe country. But
Right.
this of prejudice, it's bad for everyone, right? So we can face this type of problems. So yeah, it's increasing a bit. That's why we had this far right party that is getting a lot of supporters, and it's complicated, but we are still with good democracy, and we can discuss that a lot here through the news. Like we have everything discussing that a lot when we see television and public discussions. So this is something that we are able to try to improve every time. Yeah.
And I think from our perspective, what we're hearing here in Portugal is similar to the rest of the world. There's definitely immigration with people looking for jobs and safety, and there's a lot of mobility happening, and it's causing housing shortages, job issues. I think it's greater than just Portugal. It seems to be running across Europe, across the US, and no one's really immune, but so far the conversations here where we live in Alcobaça, for example, and we do see an increase in immigrants from all walks of life here, not just from North America. And it's interesting because, you can tell there's a little bit of like, what's going on? Who's everybody? But I've also noticed it settling down, like as people just get to know each other, and there is a genuineness to the idea of talking. And like you said, people are still talking, people are communicating. And hopefully with the rhetoric of the election behind us, people will get to work on trying to find some solutions.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Portugal is still somewhere that you can feel well here towards democracy, and to feel that we are in a good place. People are welcoming in general. So
Yeah.
we know that there is like a wave, international wave of those types of discussions about immigrants, anti-immigrants, and it arrived here like later than in other places. Like we know that in the past decade we had hard times in the US, in the UK, in Brazil, and other countries when where the far right started to create a bad environment for people from abroad, for immigrants especially, and it arrived here quite a bit, not really in the government, but with some significant politicians that have their voice as well, and we need to always be discussing this type of situations.
And Jennifer's question here about the national politics to local, for what I've heard locally, and I'd love to hear your take up in the north because Braga and your area is a little different than ours. A lot of people were saying it was a protest vote. It wasn't so much about agreeing with the policies of the far right party, but being very frustrated with the corruption of the political group that was in power. And so it was more like I don't want the corruption, less about supporting all the necessary rhetoric that was coming from that group. And that's what I've heard here. The local politicians aren't talking and spouting, really far right ideology. They're more about like, we don't want that corruption. We want to be able to have a voice. How has it been in your part of the country up in the north?
Yeah, I believe it's bad as well. We have a lot of people supporting this type of discussions and topics, but yeah, I agree with this view. That it was like a protest vote, but still they bring their agenda, and it is clearly with some, how can I say? I don't want to use like strong words here, but we can see there really not ethical policies, because they will, like they say, Portugal is for Portuguese people only, this kind of things. And that's definitely not something that we need to support, So we need to be a welcoming country, and we need to receive everyone with respect, even those who come here illegally or those overstayers that I mentioned. They have their rights. So we cannot be just like closing doors and not being able to help people. And I believe this type of topics that they bring are not beneficial. And this type of idea of getting like not accepting the current and old scenario of the politics here, it's part right, but it has the other. On the other hand, we know what it comes with that, because here
Yeah,
in Portugal,
local area doesn't seem to have a strong local presence with this party, the far right party. I haven't heard it yet infiltrating heavily into like the local cameras and local municipalities in our area. It hasn't been an issue at all. Has it been an issue up in the Braga area as far as on the local level?
no, not yet. We still have the local government there with those traditional parties. They are gaining areas in the south of the country. I'm not sure why, but in the Algarve, they were able to win the elections. So I'm not really the best one to explain
Right,
about this
right,
phenomenon, but yeah. Uh, Also, it's important to know that we have our democracy here only since 1974. We had before a regime here, it was dictatorship, right? And when we started to be a democracy, we always had two main parties alternating the government, so center right and center left. And that's how it was always, and maybe people think that, well, we are still struggling, we need someone new. We have minor parties, but they are not able to grow a lot, so this new one was able to
right.
to
It's
reach this level.
Yeah. Daniel has a question that he's in New York, but the process seems to be going faster in New Jersey. Is it possible for folks to change the consulates they apply to, or do they have to stay where they are assigned by their address?
Yeah, it's by their address. If you have the option of maybe using an address that will be eligible to apply under the jurisdiction of New Jersey, that can work. It's pretty close to New York. You can check, because then what you need to inform where you are living through a proof of address, in order to apply under that jurisdiction. And that will be the same address where you will receive your visa, because once the visa is approved, you will need to submit the passport to the consulate's address, and they will return it back to you to that address that you informed where you were living. So it will need to be in New Jersey. They have the consulate in Newark. If you are in New York, you can only apply at the VFS application center in New York City.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And Karen, hi, Karen. Are there, what are we asking here? D7 denials because the applicant has not been to Portugal? I don't think
No,
that's
that's not related. Can do everything fully remotely. You don't need to be here. Of course, it helps if you are able to come. It always
right.
it's good for you to find a property, to open a bank account as well. But you don't need to be here. For our clients, we usually can assist remotely during this first
Do
stage of the
everything.
process,
Yep.
everything until they get their visas, and then they can come. So that's definitely not a problem.
Yeah, we can help with it all remotely. We have about 40% of our clients that don't come here at all before they get their visa. We get their property for them. We can open bank accounts. You can do it online if we need to. So we love for people to come and see Portugal, but it's not a necessity to get started on the visa.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So I think one of the things I really wanted to get into before we wrap up here is, even with the anxiety that I felt seeing the rise with a far right party that was able to get a lot of traction, there is a sense of optimism here after the election in the people that I'm talking to. And the fact that this seems that there is a desire to make some improvements, especially addressing things like affordable housing and minimum wage and living wages for Portuguese, and things that are really important to us when we live here. How are you feeling as a person that is deep in the middle of all of this, helping people move, but also living there in Braga? Do you have that same feeling that after this election that it feels like there's a positive sense, or how are you feeling after the election?
Yeah, I do feel like that. It was, to be honest, quite a relief when we noticed that this new government won't negotiate with these far right politicians who want no immigrants, who want to change the immigration law here to avoid getting new people. But then, yeah, we are like optimists here, expecting this new rules and policies for locals, because indeed we are facing a problem with the real estate market, because locals are not being able to afford anymore their rentals. New lease agreements will be quite expensive, even if you compare to other European countries, like even when we compare to like Germany and Netherlands, it's becoming similar, the prices. So they are willing to help people. We had before last year like a package, a policy for housing, and we do believe that they will start creating new opportunities in the market for people who need some help for that.
Yes, and I saw also that there was a positive response with some lowering of some interest rates, some slight
Yeah.
decreases, which is also a good indication that that will help ease the burden on the Portuguese that are trying to get mortgages and things. So there's some positive movement for sure. Last call for any questions. If there are no more questions, we certainly will be available. If you think of something later, you can reach out to us. To reach Atlantic Bridge, we do have a link. If you'd like to schedule a consultation with one of the members of the team, you're more than welcome to get that information, and we can send that out. And running across the screen right now is the link that you can reach them at. If you would like to learn more about our services with Portugal the Place, we are available at portugaltheplace.com, and you can schedule a meeting with any member of our team. But we really do appreciate, Otavio, for your time and your patience with all of the questions. That was a lot of information in a short period of time, and you kind of got put on the hot seat. So, thank you for going over all of it. Really appreciate you and everyone at Atlantic Bridge, and I hope we can do it again. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will have this live recording available on YouTube and through our Facebook. So if you didn't have a chance to join it or you want to share it with someone, we'll have that link up and ready. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Colleen. It was a pleasure. Thank you all for participating. And yeah, we'll be here to help. Just don't hesitate to get in touch with us.
Perfect. All right. Take care, everyone.